Welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host, Sam Oney, and with me is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Had a long and busy weekend because it was basically 4 days of non-stop cricket, pretty much. Um, and then sat down to watch the Monaco Grand Prix earlier today, but which sort of sent me to sleep a little bit. But I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. I mean, the
I
season
know,
is
yeah.
over, so no football. But more Grand Prix, more Formula One, and Monaco. Yep, we had the Monaco Grand Prix, didn't we? And
Oh,
I
yeah,
can say,
you can certainly say that. there was
and
there
I
was
can say,
a there was some cars going round a track.
yeah, and I can say it was well. Rain, Monaco equals a spectacular race for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I wondered where you were going then. Because I remember I was watching the Channel 4 highlights and pretty much it was hammering it down with rain when they initially went to start the race behind the safety car um, on the formation lap. So they dove into the pits and postponed the start until I think it pretty much stopped raining. But yeah, the track was a bit wet. Um, yeah, there wasn't any more rain, and surely you must think that the wet tyres that Pirelli have, surely they can. And Monaco isn't a fast track, but I guess you got the safety risks with all the walls and so on, which I can guess why they postponed. I can understand why they postponed it, but a little bit annoying because I think if they had started in that torrential rain, then we could have maybe got a more interesting race. But obviously, safety of the drivers and the marshals and spectators obviously comes first. So, but yeah, it once the race actually got underway, I mean, you might as well have just not bothered watching for the first like 17 laps or so because it was just so dull. And it was, I remember watching it and the cars just seemed to be going around the track just so slowly. And yeah, I get they're on full wet tires on a wet track, and Monaco is a slow track anyway. Um, it was just like, what is the point in watching this? You've paid however many, probably thousands of pounds, let's be honest, to go and sit in the grandstands at Monaco, and you're not seeing any overtaking. The cars are going, I don't know, 80% the speed, or probably even less than that, actually, what they would normally go around Monaco. And it just was not worth watching. For those first sort of 15 to 20 laps, it was pretty typical Monaco. I think.
Yeah, and during those first 20 laps, we didn't really see much other than Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. He was trying to get past one or two
Mm.
drivers. Um, One of his victims was McLaren's Daniel Ricciardo, which I thought was a pretty good overtake.
Yeah, he made two overtakes, Pierre Gasly, around Monaco, which is, I think those were the only two overtakes I saw the whole Grand Prix
Yeah,
on lap 13 and 14, where he overtook Guan Yu Zhou first. I can't remember whereabouts on track. And then yeah, it might have been Rascasse. I can't remember the last sort of chicane, if you like, or the last double right hander. And then yeah, overtook Ricardo as well. I can't remember where he finished. Gasly, was he in the points? I don't think so. Um, yeah, those were the only two on track overtakes that, that I saw throughout watching the whole of the Channel 4 highlights. Which, I mean, the plus side
it
is
just shows you can't overtake in Monte Carlo
exactly,
or how
but
hard it is.
at least we got to actually see them this time rather than last year where they had the. Oh, we got Gasly going around the outside of Vettel, oh, but Lance Stroll's going over some curbs. Let's watch that instead. We actually got to see the overtakes, so that was a plus point from this year's Monaco TV direction. But yeah, besides that, that was pretty much the only action for the first probably third of the race, pretty
Yeah.
much third quarter to a third of the race. And yeah, at that point in time, I would have been wanting a refund if I was in the stands.
So can we pretty much say that after Pierre Gasly's overtake, things got a bit, how do I say it? Not great, just chaotic.
Yeah.
Would you say chaotic? Yeah, is that
I'll
the word?
probably go with that. Yeah.
Right, because we had some crashes as well in the barriers, most notably Mick Schumacher. Now, if you're Gunther Steiner, you wouldn't want to. I mean, if you're Gunther Steiner, you must be what, fed up, annoyed, because if your drivers are just crashing at one track and another almost 2 or 3 times, it's gonna get a bit annoying. And also, F1 and budget costs, they're not looking great.
Yeah, I think Mick Schumacher had an issue in qualifying as well, or practice, or certainly a session earlier on in the weekend where I think he spun trying to go into the pit lane as well. Yeah, that crash, it was sort of slightly reminiscent of Romain Grosjean's crash in Bahrain Sakhir, where basically the back half of the car just sort of got ripped off. And obviously, it was a much lower speed crash, being Monaco and not Bahrain. But even so, you're just thinking that is a horrific looking crash. And thankfully, he was okay, got out the car quite quickly. I say quite quickly, it felt quite a long time watching the highlight, because they were just stuck on this one shot where of the swimming pool section where it crashed, and one of the grandstands was sort of blocking the view of the car for what did feel like quite a while, and it took a while for the radio to come up for Schumacher to say that he was fine. And it took a long time to get that race stopped as well, because they had the VSC for quite a while, a good few minutes, and then obviously full safety car after that. But with the barrier was completely destroyed, and you had half the car buried in the Armco, and it took way too long for race control to red flag and stop the race. And it's a good job they did in the end, I suppose, but that's not the best race direction, I think. There have been a few issues already this year. I mean, thankfully not as many as last year, but yeah, it's still not great, the race direction. That should have been red flagged immediately rather than waiting. I think it was close to 10 minutes to actually stop the race and make sure Schumacher was safe. All the stewards, officials, not mechanics, but recovery people could actually get the car to safety and protect them as well, because even though the car's under safety car, it's not exactly slow. It's still 30, 40, 50 mile an hour, which can cause serious harm if one of the cars goes spinning off. And we don't want another situation like what happened to Jules Bianchi as well. Not the best display of the weekend, that from race control.
Yeah, and hopefully Haas can find a way to stop crashing in races and try and finish them, within the set time, because this is what, the second, third time we've seen a Haas car crashing out of a race.
I think so. Yeah. There have been a few this year for sure. Yeah, I know Magnussen's got a few points and on the whole drove pretty well, but they have had a couple of retirees, and yeah, they're one of the teams with probably one of the lowest budgets in Formula One, especially now that they've had to bin off Uralkali as their sponsor, so they've got even less money. But yeah, if I were Steiner, I'd be glad that the driver's okay first and foremost, but yeah, you'd be looking around the back of the sofa for a few pennies if I was.
Now to the interesting part. Lap 22, Monaco, Ferrari pit stop. Carlos Sainz comes in on for slick tires. The track is starting to dry up, and all's going well for Ferrari. Carlos Sainz is almost breathing on Sergio Perez's neck of the Red Bull, but then Charles Leclerc comes into the pit stop, and it caught the Ferrari garage off guard. almost, because they wanted him to stay out, and I can say it didn't go so well.
No, because I think Red Bull successfully double stacked. I think pretty much on the same lap as Ferrari, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because they had Perez coming first for I can't remember, or they pitted them before slick tyres for Inters. But yeah, Carlos Sainz wanted to stay out on the wet tyres until it was dry enough to fully transition to slicks. Can't remember if Leclerc pitted for Inters. I know quite a few drivers did, and one of the it might be one of the AlphaTauris was one of the first to pit for slicks, and he almost lost it.
the intermediate ones are the green ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the green ones. Yeah, I think it was after, or it might have been Ricardo. I can't remember. Pitted for hard tyres. Um, and then yeah, as you say, on lap 22, Ferrari just had a shocker of a pit stop, because you had Charles Leclerc pretty much halfway down the pit lane, and then you hear on the radio, "No, it's stay out," and it's just like you've completely cocked that up, cocked up his race win on his home Grand Prix,
No,
where
no,
he
no.
hasn't finished the last 5 Monaco races he's raced at in Formula One and Formula Two. I don't think he's seen the flag. This was the first time he's seen the checkered flag at a Monaco Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc. Um, yeah, Red Bull got it pretty much spot on. I know there were a few questions about whether they managed to keep it inside the pit exit. It's sort of inside that yellow line. I know Perez, I think, was investigated for it and obviously didn't get penalised. Same with Verstappen. From what I saw, I think both were fine. Only just though it was quite slippery on the inside of Sandoval. Yeah, if you're Ferrari, you're just thinking, we completely ballsed it up. We have cost Charles Leclerc a chance to get back at Verstappen in the championship, and for Ferrari themselves a chance to get back at Red Bull in the constructors championship, but also a driver to win his home Grand Prix. You're just
Home
taking that
race,
away
yeah.
from him. And at the end of the race, Charles Leclerc was understandably quite angry on the radio. I know I'd be pretty pissed off if I was him in that position, because yeah, you get told to come in, or you see your teammate come in, you've been told you're going to double stack, and then as soon as you get into the pit lane, no, stay out. It's just, yeah, complete mayhem from Ferrari. And it's not the first time they've ballsed up pit strategy. It's happened quite a few times over the last few years. But yeah, hopefully for Ferrari fans anyway, they'll get it right in Baku. I mean, hopefully it probably won't rain in Baku for starters. That'll make things a little bit
Yeah.
easier. But yeah, I'd be pretty angry if I was Leclerc in that situation.
So so Ferrari's loss was Red Bull's, and more importantly, Sergio Perez's gain, because oh, you'd love to be Sergio Perez, wouldn't you? Because I think he's having quite a I think he's having quite a tough time at Red Bull. When I say tough, not I don't mean like difficulties with the car, but I just mean the expectation of being that second driver, you know. But I think he's taken it quite well, especially with this win in Monaco.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's actually doing very well. I think he's only 6 points off Charles Leclerc in the drivers' championship now, which is, yeah, I know. If you said that at the start of the season, you'd be thinking there's no way Perez will be in this championship fight, and yet he's finding himself in that fight because he's so consistent. And yeah, it's only his third race win, is second for Red Bull, but he deserved that win. I feel that last
Definitely,
weekend, and he
definitely.
qualified really really well. Qualified third. Yeah, it was behind both Ferraris, but he was just had so much pace in that week. He set fastest lap, fastest lap. I can't remember if he got the bonus point fastest lap. Might have gone to Norris actually. I think. Yeah, he was I suppose in a way in the right position at the right time after Ferrari's pit stop, but he just drove a brilliant race and completely faultless really from Perez. And I don't think you can say that too much about him over the last few years or so. He has made mistakes with Red Bull. At Spa, he was in a points paying position and then spun out whilst they behind the safety car, so lost out on points there when it was pouring down with rain. Um, just a brilliant, brilliant drive, and now becomes the most successful Mexican Formula One driver of all time. After I was going to say after, no, he's overtaken Pedro Rodriguez, who won twice. I think they said on commentary in 1967 and 1970. A brilliant, brilliant achievement for him, and I just want to see him on the top step of the podium more often because he deserves it. Does Checo? That sort of tag of being Red Bull's second driver is not boded well over the last few years. When you think back to Gasly and Albon, both ditched fairly quickly, and Perez has come in and he's doing all right. I think, understandably, Red Bull's focus is on Verstappen, but you can't deny that Perez has done a pretty solid job so far this year.
What do you think Perez needs to do to be in that drivers world drivers championship fight? I mean, I know he has to win races, but I mean, what does he have to do? Because he's putting in all these performances, but then he's not getting a lot of recognition because everyone is thinking, oh, this is definitely Verstappen versus Leclerc. The Mexican is now 6 points behind Leclerc now.
Yeah, exactly. I think he pretty much is in that championship battle, but for him to sort of make more of an, I think Max gets all the headlines because he's young, he's an aggressive driver, he won the world championship in controversial circumstances, youngest race winner, etc., etc. But Perez has been a great servant to F1. He's been racing for, it must be his at least 10th year, if not longer. I think I'm pretty sure it's longer than 10 years now he's been in Formula One. He's been part of a midfield team for a long time, and this is his first sort of proper outing in a front running team. I know he had a year at McLaren in 2013, I think, which didn't end up too well for him. But he just needs to just keep this consistency up, keep on the same level of pace as Verstappen, out qualifying Verstappen. Just keep getting consistent podiums for him to be on the same level of Verstappen, at least in terms of sort of exposure and media coverage. I think he's doing a pretty solid job, and that just shows that he's only 6 points behind Charles Leclerc. I know Leclerc's had a couple of bad races in Imola and obviously this weekend in Monaco, and I think there was one other as well where he's off the podium. Spain, I think. Yeah, Spain, he retired, of course he did. Which obviously, helps Red Bull massively. Perez is just sort of chipping away at Leclerc rather than someone like Verstappen who's won every race. Well, not anymore, obviously, but up to this weekend and won every race he's finished, rather than big chunks of 25 points. Perez is just chipping away at Charles Leclerc. And I'm hoping for him to be in this championship fight right till the end of the season, because it would be a bit boring just to have another two-way driver battle as it has been for probably as many years as I can remember. Actually, no, it went down to a few drivers. I think in 2010, 2012, there were a few drivers up for it. It's just nice to have another driver's name into that championship battle rather than two drivers, essentially, Verstappen and Leclerc. Yeah, we'll have to see how the season pans out.
Staying with the Mexican, it was announced today that Sergio Perez had signed a new contract with Red Bull. So he'll be staying with the Austrian-based team until 2024. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, but remember what happened to Carlos Sainz a few races back in Australia?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't end up on the same sort of downward curve as Sainz did, where he had a poor run of 3 races, I think, Sainz, and was he back in second place this weekend. But I think that's a pretty good sign from Red Bull, because when you think of the talent that they've got in their driver program, you still got Pierre Gasly there, you still got Alex Albon. Yeah, I know he's driving for Williams, but it's still linked, has links with Red Bull. You got the drivers in F2. You got Yuki Tsunoda. There's a lot of drivers that they could bring up, and if I was Pierre Gasly, I'd be thinking, surely it's time for me to have another go. But yeah, Checo
Mm.
has, as we've just said, driven pretty solidly the last season and a bit now, I suppose. And yeah, he fully deserves it. And it's, I don't know if it's surprising it came so soon after Monaco or not, but yeah, until the end of 2024, and if he doesn't get a contract extension renewal after that, then that could be the end of his career. And maybe they do bring up someone like a Gasly, a Tsunoda, someone like that, promote them back up to Red Bull and Albon, maybe. Yeah, fully deserved for Checo, and yeah, pleased for him.
So that was the top end of the race with Red Bull and Ferrari. Going down to the midfield pack, just some honourable mentions. Lando Norris getting P6 from McLaren. George Russell again, consistent, finishing in 5th place. What do you make of the British pair?
I mean, yeah, Russell is still not finished lower than P5 in any of the 7 races now, I think we're in. And yeah, Norris, he's got back to back pretty good finish. Did he get a 5th place in Spain? Was it? No, in 8th place. He's still vastly outperforming Ricciardo, which is a little bit of a worry for McLaren that Ricciardo's still not quite firing yet. Yeah, for Norris to get 8th in Spain with tonsillitis and to come back a week later and get a solid result in qualifying, get 6th place and fastest lap as well, is a pretty good effort. And yeah, Russell was, I think he's close to being in that championship fight as well, almost. He got 84 points, so a little bit behind Checo Perez, but and yeah, just solid performances from both of them. And yeah, the more they're in those sort of 5th, 6th place, then the better, I think.
So, Monaco, how would you rate it out of 10? We've had rainfall, we've had a few crashes into barriers, we've had some pretty good saves with the cars as well, Carlos Sainz towards the end, and we've had some pit stop mess ups. Yes, I'm talking about you, Ferrari, yes. So how do you rate the race out of 10?
I still wouldn't rate it that highly, given I only saw 2 on-track overtakes. So the pit stop stuff did give it a bit of extra spiciness, if you like. But even in the dying laps of the race, where you had Alex Jackson, David Coulthard, Mark Webber just trying to sort of build up the excitement of it, you could just tell that none of the driver, you could tell that Sainz, Verstappen, and Leclerc, they just weren't getting past Perez because there is just no place to overtake in Monaco. You just can't. The cars are too wide, and they've been getting wider for what seems like ages now. I'd probably give it, if I was being generous, I'd probably give it a 4, but I'm probably going to give it a 3 instead. Just 2 on-track overtakes from what I saw. I mean, there might have been more, I don't know, but I only saw 2, and yeah, the rest of the race, besides pit stops, was pretty bog standard Monaco driving around a track for 2 hours with no overtaking.
4 out of 10.
3 out of 10. I said it if I was being generous, a 4, but I'm not being generous.
Right. How do you rate the race out of 10? Well, I think I'd give it a 4 out of 10. Maybe I'm being a bit too generous, like you said. The pit stop was quite an eye opener. I think that was almost the only thing that, got people off their seats. And nice to see Sergio Perez on the top step of a podium. So yeah, 4 out of 10. Right, final question. Monaco. should it be on the calendar next year? Yes
I
or
knew
no?
this was coming. Um,
Taking into account just everything about it.
yeah, I know it's a great spectacle. You can't deny that. And from a driver's perspective, it is probably the most challenging race because it is so tight and twisty and bumpy and narrow that one mistake and you're gone. Whereas other tracks like Paul Ricard, for example, with massive runoff areas, is a lot less of a challenge. If you're in the grandstands, I'm sure it's great, just just for the atmosphere and the noise more than anything. But as a spectator watching it back on TV, it's not good to watch. And yeah, with regulations as changing the cars and getting wider and heavier, it's just going to make it worse and worse and worse for racing. Um, so yeah, I mean, it will be on the calendar next year, but I think
Oh,
the sooner we got rid of Monaco or go back to narrower cars and smaller cars, that would do the trick potentially. But that's not going to happen. So my heart says no, let's ditch Monaco, but head says 100% being on the calendar for next year and many number of years to come, I'm sure.
well, I've got one answer for you. No, no, no,
Get rid.
no. That's it. So we've come to the end of another episode of the F1Stop show. Um, oh, another thing. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix is the next race in the F1 on the F1 calendar. I believe it's June 10 to June
Yep,
12.
couple weeks time.
So in a few weeks, yeah, a few weeks time. Hopefully, we won't have a Hamilton lockup from last year, but we'll save that for next time. Don't worry. So yeah, I've been your host Sam Roney, and also do remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and you can also email us as well at f1stopshow@gmail.com. So I've been your host, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we hope you have a lovely week.